This is where one of my kids was living. Sorry, it's gonna make me a bit emotional. So the water come through this, blew through these roller doors.
Rebecca Sparks is reliving the horror.
You know, if the kids had been down here, they probably would have all drowned.
For the second time in 11 years, her home in Grantham in regional Queensland is a flood-damaged mess, and she can't bear the thought of going through it all again.
Me and some of our neighbours pretty much just feel like throwing our hands in the air and walking away.
History shows there is another option. This is Gundagai in regional New South Wales. It's dry now, but in 1852, Australia's deadliest flood tore through the town. Gordon Lindley's great-great-grandfather was away buying cattle when his wife and 4 young children clung for their lives on the roof of a stable.
The story is that she had the cash box with her, but she apparently let that go and grabbed all the children and cuddled them as much as she could, and away they went. And they did find the bodies and they did bury them.
The flood was so bad because the town had been built on the river flats, despite warnings from the local Aboriginal people about the flood risk.
Our people actually told them to move to the higher ground, and that little bit of ignorance actually cost them, half the township.
But those left behind learned quickly from their mistakes. They moved the town up a hill, and to this day, it's largely remained dry.
Well, I think the lesson is, when anything like this happens, do it as quick as you possibly can.
The hardest time to talk about moving away from a flood or a fire zone is straight after the disaster hits. For some, the idea of relocation is incredibly upsetting and simply unaffordable, but there are many who are desperate to find a way to do it.
The garden shed was in here.
Like Rebecca Sparks in Grantham.
We're at wit's end. What do we do? Is this going to happen again, and how soon?
After the deadly 2011 flash flood, described as an inland tsunami, a new estate was developed on higher ground. Back then, the council offered a voluntary land swap, now internationally recognised for its success.
It all happened exceptionally fast, and there was a real desire, need from the council to get people out of vulnerable low-lying areas.
The council bought 120 blocks on a nearby hillside adjacent to the flood zone. Residents entered a ballot and were allocated properties to build on. Flood victims paid for their own construction, but the land was paid for by council, with state and federal governments chipping in $9 million each. The overall cost of the project was $30 million, and the council still owes the bank more than $6 million. But those who took up the opportunity and have dry homes after the recent flood haven't looked back.
None of the houses in the new estate were in any kind of danger of getting any water, so so I think probably a bit of relief up here.
Land swaps like Grantham's are rare, but governments have been known to buy back people's houses. That option doesn't include the gift of land, and without it, a lot of people can't afford to buy or rebuild elsewhere. Rebecca Sparks wanted to relocate in 2011, but her insurance payout wasn't big enough. Now she's pleading with governments to help her move to drier ground.
A little crusader, and I'm not going to give up until we get what we need. It's not just me that needs it, it's the families, all the families.
Desperate to find a safe place to call home. Lucy Barber, ABC News.